let's roll. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. She give me a bit of her love.
Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome. We're back. And listen, another year, a new season, huh? Sparking Conversation, man. Season 4, man, is upon us. Thank y'all so much for everybody that rocked out with us last year and how we moving forward with this year's show. And listen, we're gonna do it even better for y'all. Like I said, each and every season, we're gonna get better. I'm gonna do better, we're gonna move better, and we're gonna have some of the world's most interesting people as guests. And tonight I got the same thing for y'all, okay? So before we get into that, y'all know how I do. I gotta let y'all know how things are moving around here. So first of all, I know a lot of people have been following me for the last couple of weeks, and y'all been noticing that upon me not going live, I technically have been showing a lot of the shorts, from different shows that I did throughout the year, very impactful shows. And, I've noticed too that this platform right here, although I am who I am, and what I mean by that is that I do a lot of stuff. Most people that follow me, they see me, I do the filming, and I have a clothing line, and, all these other things. And so I noticed that people see that too. So when it comes down to this platform, what I like to just be thankful for is the fact that I understand that as a part of everything that I love to do, that this right here is really a part of my purpose. Why? Because this platform is set up for me to allow other people the opportunity to tell their story. And not only to tell their story, to have real conversation. Right? Because the world has us separated, y'all. They have us separated by so many different things that people from different cultures, different walks of life, different skin colors, different skin tones, different heights, different religions, different backgrounds, very seldom are they have a place where they could come together and they can have dialogue that doesn't turn to arguments, dialogue that's not about trying to prove your point over the other, but having a platform where people could come and just have a conversation and then try to understand perspective. We don't have to agree with people to understand their perspective. Why? Because their train of thought and their mentality is who they are. And a lot of times we miss the boat trying to expect people to be like us versus accepting people for who they are. Listen, once a person show you who they are, you got to accept that. Do people change? Yes, they do. But until that change is shown and that change is what you call consistent, then they still whoever they are whenever they show it to you. So we just got to leave people where they are. You know what I'm saying? But thank God for everybody that has made it from last year, made it through this year with me. Thank y'all so much for rocking out with your boy, all right? So look, let's do this. Let me get into a couple of things because y'all know I got to give these shout outs. Shout out to everybody that's been pushing play on the content. Now, recently, I've been putting out some new content. The new content has been the Ooblifter series, right? We did some new content adding on to the Ooblifter series. So the Ooblifter series, we had part 18, right? And we had part 19. Part 19 actually dropped today, this morning. So all of y'all that's following me on Facebook, y'all know what to do. It's pinned to the top of my timeline. Go push play, share it, comment, do whatever you got to do. And then, Ooblifter 19 is up there as well. And if you are on YouTube, you can definitely find us on Team Collector TV, okay? The links will be in the description so y'all could check us out. All right, so what else do we have? Y'all know that I have on my We Don't Wait, We Create t-shirt. Right? This is the merch. We don't wait, we create. Because listen, we have the really dope networking event coming up in April. And the reason why I say we don't wait, we create is because I'm part of that whole energy where we're not waiting for nobody to give us no opportunities this year at all. We're not waiting for nobody to tell us that we could do something. We're not waiting on validation for someone to tell us if we're good for something. So we don't wait, we create. So for everyone that is a filmmaker, a content creator, a podcaster, a model, a clothing line, a artist, a photographer, a videographer, anybody that's behind the scenes when it comes to management, PR, all of these different things. We want you in the building. The We Don't Wait, We Create. It is the dopest networking kickback that's going to be. It's an outdoor event. It's going to be really dope. All you got to do is email us at thecollectivevisions1@gmail.com and just reserve your spot. Just put it in there. You get an RSVP and we'll put you on the list, because what we're going to do is we give out the address to the location closer to the venue, because we want to make sure that everybody that's supposed to be there is there. We don't want to make it like we're trying to do something to come up off of people. No, we want real energy in the building. So y'all know the vibes, man. Y'all follow me, stick with it. If you one of these, then you know you got to be in the building, because y'all know how we do. We always do things where everything is so fly, everything is always decent and in order, and you never have to worry about your safety or your life when you come do anything that involves me. So definitely, y'all tap in. All right, so for all of you guys out there that like to get to where you going without alcohol, y'all know the Good Feels brand is in the building. I want y'all to click the link in the description, man. Go check them out. If you go buy anything, y'all use my code ROD1ROD1 and you will get 20% off your total order. So you want to go check them out, right? Speaking of that, y'all know we have all of our herb, our 420 enthusiasts and everybody around the world. Y'all know how we do. 420 in the spring is coming upon us, and that is also happening in April. So what we want y'all to do is it's the same thing. We want to make sure that we get everybody in the building. Y'all was in there last year. It was a really dope event. The vendors was out there. Everybody was chill. Everybody was cool, and we networked and we made things happen. So y'all know the same vibe. Email litsticksbrand@gmail.com. Make sure you put vibes and the number 2 in the subject line and get on that RSVP as well, y'all. Y'all know the vibes, man. It's what we do. Okay, businesses out there, events, products, wherever you are. Come on, man. We're doing 30,000 views a month. Sparking conversation. Yes, y'all. 30,000 views a month. So, yes, your business, your event, your product will be in front of that many people per month if you rock with your boy. And I'm doing it for only $10 a month. So I'm only doing it for the first 50 businesses of the year. So y'all know the vibes, man. Holla at me if you feel like that will add value to your business product or event. And we definitely will get the word out. We'll make sure that people know about it, and we'll help you market. And that's what the vibe is. You know what I'm saying? So thank y'all for that. We don't wait, we create. Remember that, y'all. We don't wait, we create. We don't wait, we create. I bet. So before I bring my guest up, y'all know I got to give y'all my rant. But before we do that, I wanted to share my screen because I wanted to do this Did Y'all Know segment, because it's a couple of little things out here. I feel like these just little small little tidbits. I think that if we knew, that it'll help us a little bit. Me personally, the video I'm going to share with y'all, one of the main ingredients that's in it, I really don't rock with it like that unless it's raw, but we understand that so many different things has really great health benefits, and we should learn about them in all the different ways we can, right? So give me a second here, y'all. Let me share my screen with y'all, right? Before we get into it. This is the Did You Know segment, because we want to make sure that I get this out. You know what I'm saying? What?
The Chinese remedy trick they never tell you. Drop a red onion into boiling water, let that bitch sit a few minutes. Then strain it out, then add 1 spoon olive oil and 1 spoon honey. That combo breaks down throat mucus, clears your lungs, helps your body fight colds and flu, boosts immunity, and kicks toxins out like they owe rent. If you want more real remedies like this, comment yes and hit follow.
Now, y'all know that when it comes down to like little information like that, man, I like to let y'all know little stuff like that, because you never know. You know, health is wealth. And certain little things like that can help you. And I know it's a lot of people out here who deal with things and they never get cured for it, or they never get to the end of it. It's just being treated. So sometimes we just got to help ourselves, right? And I was thinking about it when it comes down to onions, right? There's so many things that onions are used for outside of cooking, and that is just one of the things. It's one of the it has one of the highest antioxidants in a. I don't know what we call that. I know some people say they call onions a fruit. I don't get it, but either way, y'all know it. Y'all know what I mean. So if what if you didn't know that, that's something for you guys to kind of check out, look up, do your research, and see if that's something that you might want to try to help yourself out. Because hey, with all these things that they trying and doing to us on purpose, is some things that we need to do on purpose to help ourselves. All right. So health is wealth. So remember that. So before I bring my guest up, y'all, let's talk about this a little bit, man, because mental health. This is a great way to start off this year with a conversation like this, right? Because if y'all kind of realize this, coming out of last year, coming into this one, you know, um, it's been so much going on out here that mentally people have been off their rocker. We had things going on, like in Charlotte, we had the person riding the tram and the young man, and he just out of nowhere just murdered the young lady, right? Then you have all of the other things that's happened. So many lynchings that's happened in 2025. It's been at least 3, right? And I know I said so many, like there's been 15 or 20, but one is enough. One is too many. Like, what we doing? It's 2025. Why is that the image of hate people want to paint still in this day and time? I don't get that. Right. But either way it go, we've been dealing with that. We've been dealing with the fact that so many people have been up in arms about SNAP benefits. People who didn't contribute to anything, who was getting stuff, was mad because they didn't get it no more. Then you had people who was upset about ICE because ICE was running down on people going into the holidays, right? Running down everywhere. It was so many things that were just open, right? Because, people were scared. They was in the house and they were afraid because ICE was running around and, they was fear mongering us. They had Americans and citizens out here getting caught up in certain things and, making it seem like, yo, if you just an average citizen and you look a certain way, you could get caught up and detained and all this other stuff. And it has so many people living in anxiety. Not only that, there's been people dealing with so many repercussions from the jab. There's been so many other different things going on when it comes to the fight for your children, and making sure that they don't get over vaccinated because of all the studies and the tests and everything that's been coming out about everything that's been dealing with that. So parents are a lot more, cautious when it comes down to, what's going on with their children. And they're like, yo, I'm just not with it. You're going to have to do whatever you got to do, but we're not doing that to our children. And, so there has been so much anxiety and mental depression and mental instability going on that I think that a lot of people, if we don't find a way to focus on having mental maturity. And what I mean by that is that being able to understand how to process the situations that are upon us. Because the one thing about it, so many people react emotionally to things that happen in their lives because that's the way they've always done it. It takes so much effort for you to fight your flesh, when it comes down to you being angry or being bothered or being triggered. That thing, it feels inside your body and it's really hard to fight. There's a thing called pride, too, that comes in the way. People don't like to be disrespected. So the moment a person feels like there's a sign of disrespect coming from someone, they easily are triggered. And then those things happen as well, too. And at the same time, we're losing out here because of that. We're losing because mentally we're not able to process things. We're losing because we don't understand that there is an agenda to keep us separate as regular citizens out here. If you don't understand, there is an agenda to keep us hospitalized and in the doctor's office with all the chemtrails and the all these different ingredients and crap that's all in the foods and everything. If you guys don't understand that they putting up all these 5G towers and, people are finding out that they're having so much aluminum and stuff in their system because before anything happens or whatever they get ready to do, it's affecting people on a certain level already right now. And these things are being exposed early besides it being this whole, thing that's just going to come out the blue because of the way people are affected. And with all these things against every one of us, I'm talking about the Caucasian, the black, the Asian, whoever you are, these things are outside. They don't care what color you are. It's either rich or poor. I hope y'all understand that. It has nothing to do with that. It's not a person that's here that had to pick who they was born to be before they came here. We talked about that before, you know, and because of that, you could be proud of however you was born and what you was born into, but it doesn't give us a means to have to look at each other in a way where we say like we're gonna be that divided, knowing that there's a whole group of people out there that are that connected and working together to keep us right down here. As much as you want to argue with each other over stupid stuff, right? As much as you really want to walk around here and still be racist in 2025, the fact that you still want to come around and treat people less than because you're a celebrity or because of you, whoever the thing that people are out here doing, you know what I'm saying? Like you still in that vibe, not knowing that we all in the same boat when it comes to the same people, right? Do you think that there is only one color of elite person out there that's responsible for all the things that are damaging us each and every day? No. You think that everybody that look like you, love like you? No. But the fact that we don't recognize that, we allow anything that could come out of the blue to trigger us right now, and then boom, here we go. You know what I'm saying? And then now everybody hate each other. Now everybody don't like each other. And if you know what, and that's the one thing about it, because you know what's so corny? If they fuck around and they do cut off all the lights and all the other dumb shit, there's gonna be a bunch of people out here not being able to trust somebody else only because that you didn't think about that before it even happened. That yo, this is designed for you to be that way. Digital IDs are upon us, y'all. 15-minute cities are upon us. And it's only like that because we allow it, because we're triggered by our emotions, because mentally we don't allow ourselves to be great. We allow ourselves to be controlled. So I am really looking forward to having this conversation with my guest today, right? Because mental health is so important. And being able to control you, self-esteem, self whatever, we be able to control that. It comes with a whole level of just being able to be accountable. So let's bring my guest up, right? Because we got to get into this real quick. So okay, there she go. What's going on?
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being on the platform. And so, listen, this is what we want to do. Before we get into anything, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience and then letting them know why you're on the platform this evening?
Of course, my name is Maddie. I'm a mental health advocate, peer support specialist, master of social work student, and nonprofit founder. And the reason I'm so passionate and here tonight to talk about mental health is because I also happen to be someone living with serious mental illness, and my path to recovery almost killed me. But that is what drives me to help other people today.
And I think that's a really important conversation to have because, you know, whenever people are dealing with things mentally, a lot of times it's really hard for them to kind of find a path that can bring them back from that place of wanting to go that far, of not necessarily being here anymore. So let's talk a little bit about that, right? So, you know, and it's up to you if you don't want to talk about the details of what pushed you to that
No,
place. All I know is
definitely.
that whatever it is, it's going to help somebody else. So let's talk a little bit about what pushed you or drove you to the point of possibly not wanting to be around anymore.
Well, that is one way I almost died. It was like this all-consuming thought that I didn't want to be on this planet anymore. I was so over-medicated. I couldn't process emotions. I was 420 pounds. And it was like every waking moment was agonizing. And it was just this compulsive thought in my brain. I was actively self-harming. My husband was trying to figure out a way to snap me out of it, but it just wasn't working. I mean, he was going as far as buying weighted blankets and going to therapy and researching hospitals and things like that. But it really, I was stressed out at my job. That was a lot of it. And so I had to change careers. But that wasn't really the biggest time that almost killed me. A doctor actually almost killed me. So they over medicated me for so many years. And then they were tinkering with meds and tinkering with meds. And I live with the diagnosis what's called schizoaffective bipolar type. So it means I have both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. So you have to treat mania, depression, and psychosis. But she wasn't treating all of that. And I got really, really, really sick and actually had to be written out of work for a period of time. My husband had to be my 24/7 caretaker. I mean, he was as far as he was changing my diapers. It was terrible. And part of the treatment they gave me for that was increasing a medication called lithium, but they increased it too much. And I began to die. I could not walk, talk, swallow. I was in diapers. I couldn't use a cell phone. I couldn't read or write. And I was like that for a couple of weeks. And it was just really agonizing for my husband because he would put me in with these doctors and just rest, see you in 2 weeks. Like, it's like if you don't advocate hard enough in those moments, you get lost in the cracks. And it wasn't until I advocated for myself one day and I said, take me to the hospital. And they rushed me to the mental hospital. And then it was discovered that this was way out of their scope. And they rushed me to the ER, and the ER said, oh, you're poisoned and you have a brain injury and you're dying. And I had to have this rush of fluids to, because what you do when you have poison in your bloodstream. But they pushed so many fluids that it enlarged my heart. And when they keep pushing fluids because they had to, and your heart's enlarged, it's going to pump into your lungs. So the bottom half of both my lungs collapsed, and I still wasn't getting the poison out of my system. And I ended up with 2 rounds of dialysis. And I say all of this to say that that was probably the scariest moment of my life. And they didn't think I was going to recover. But what I did that was different than the past is I took it as motivation to not only better my life and improve my own mental health, but to help other people improve their mental health too. And
Mm,
I understand, like you were saying earlier, there's a lot of trauma in the world and all of these negative things happening, but we have to take control of ourselves and our lives, and we can make it a better life if we wanted to.
right. No, and I was just getting ready to say it's just that's part of. I didn't know you was going to say that part, and that's why those little rants I give in the beginning of the shows, man, it really hits home whenever a person can actually you know uh make what's the word I'm looking for? Whenever you can validate, I guess, a thought or so, because we talk about this all the time, medicine and the way that they treat us for things. They don't really cure us for things, right? And it's like a forever patient. It's like whenever we going through things, the first thing they offer is medication. And then for you, like you said, dealing with multiple things that they said that you were dealing with, right? Um, Come to find out they tried to treat everything and they never came up with a way to cure anything. And I think for us, we as humans, and then for people who feel like the people that are in control have our best interests, and we are really finding out each and every day that they don't. Like they experiment on you, they'll experiment on me and anybody else in order to keep you in that revolving door. So let me ask you this. The one thing that you said is that you did something different. You not only took control of yours, but you decided to help other people. So in your road to recovery from, because lithium is what they put in batteries. That's crazy,
It's a heavy
right?
metal
Like,
use for bipolar disorder. And I was on it for about 15 years. It's a very effective medication when it's monitored correctly. It's just that mine was not monitored correctly.
yeah, yeah, and which is crazy because in a lot of research, just trying to be prepared for our show today, I was just doing, research and stuff like that because, I don't necessarily do an interview style. I do a conversation style, but I always like to research and then, I like to look up things just so I could be somewhat in the conversation to have with people. And then coming to find out when it comes down to multiple disorders, they come to find out that a lot of things have been dealt with parasites, right? That people have been dealing with multiple parasites. And then, some of the ones I can't remember the name right off the top, but they affect the brain because these particular parasites sit in the brain. And then when I realized that there were certain people who had those particular things and then they were cured of those things because they were healed of parasites, then they no longer were dealing with the psychosis and the schizophrenia and stuff like that. And then it led me back to this passage in the Bible, which I always think about, you know what I mean? Not being religious, just in the sense of whenever they talk about the guy that was possessed. And then when Jesus showed up, he was like, yo, he casted the demon, or he casted him out, and he asked, can they go into the pig and then in the swine, and then jumped off the cliff and all that other stuff, right? But then I think about that. Like, the number one thing that pork produces that people have to deal with is parasites. So the man technically was dealing with parasites. Although to the rest of the world, he looked like he was dealing with mental disorders and multiple personalities and schizophrenia. So let me ask you this: at what point did you figure out that you had to take your road to recovery in your own hand? Because at this point, you were already trusting doctors, and they took you this far.
I think when I left the hospital and had amnesia and had no idea what I had been through, I was there for 3 weeks and came home and I knew I was dying, but I didn't know why. Like I could feel it. And I couldn't talk still. I couldn't really walk. I couldn't really sit up. I couldn't use the cell phone and like all of these horrible things. And I spent the first couple of weeks just begging. I was like, just end it already. Like, this is terrible. But when I was able to read again and I read my medical records, this fire burned in my belly because I had spent so much of my 20s feeling like death was the only option. And here I am cheating death. So it's like, okay, this is the turning point. I'm not going to die. I can overcome this. So I just put myself into action. I got on the phone and I begged for help. I begged for resources. I got out of my bed and all I could do was 30 seconds, but I walked to heal my heart and my lungs. And that 30 seconds led to going to the park and running for 5 miles. It was just taking it baby step and baby step and baby step. And along the way, I had like these few questions. Why is mental health care so expensive? Why have I never met anybody like me? Why have I been coached to be silent my entire life? And why are there not any resources closer to my house? So I was like, I'm just going to change it. If nobody can answer these questions for me, then I'm just going to change it. And so 3 months after coming home, they told me it would be years for me to return to work, but I was back at work 3 months. And 4 months later, I created my nonprofit because I want nobody else to go through what I went through. And giving back to the world keeps me in recovery. Service work, helping others heal is healing for me too.
Gotcha. So technically, you realize that you kind of just fought your way through once you realized that the thing that you wanted wasn't going to happen, because you said since your 20s you've been thinking that death was the only way out of
Right.
whatever you were dealing with, right? So,
Right. I think it's like
mm,
when you're faced with it like that, when it's like when you know you've overcome it, and it was like, okay, this is a second chance at life. It made me look at life differently, and I just saw it as a new opportunity. And some of the people I had in my life along the way were giving me the feedback. Yes, you didn't like your life before, but this is the chance to create the life you've always wanted. And I really took that to heart and changed everything about myself that I didn't like, changed my environment, changed the people I was around, changed the resources I used, and turned my life into something that's beautiful today.
which is great because it starts with us, right? Like everything that goes on in life. Yeah, sure, we can't help the circumstances we're born in or the family and their circumstances that they ushered us in. But as far as things that deal with us, our self esteem, our self image, our, weight, whatever we think that the things that we can help, and I think that's one of the things that hurt us as people too, as well, is that we're so upset over the things that we can't help that the things that we can, we neglect them because we can change different things about ourselves that, and then there's things that we can't. Of course, people can go pay to get a smaller nose or something if they feel like their nose is too big. But, they can also, there's people who feel like their weight is an issue, but then they could really go work out and get that under, it just depends on what you're working to go look like. Because you work out don't mean you have to become a supermodel in order for you to become healthy, right? And I think a lot of it that you just proved was activity, being active too as well when it comes to your body. Like that's medicine as well too. Um, just as
Yes.
much.
You I was so reliant on only medication, and the doctor is right. Let's pump me full of meds, and I'm gonna have mental illness the rest of my life. That's just the way it is, and I'm gonna have to take some form of medication. But what the pieces I was missing is diet, exercise, sunlight, sleep, all these holistic measures that come along with the medication. That's the healing component. I was just strictly wanting that magic answer, but that doesn't exist.
Mm. So that magic answer, you feel like for most people that deal with mental health issues such as yours that are diagnosed that come with, a medication to try to help, deal with it, you think that most people they rely on it as almost like a magic remedy?
I don't know if I would say a magic remedy. I mean, it's a necessary tool for us for the rest of our lives, for most of us, just because our symptoms are so severe. Like if I was unmedicated, I would not be talking to you right now. I would be hallucinating and screaming and unwell. The medicines kind of give me that baseline, but it doesn't make me symptom free. I'm going to have symptoms because recovery is not a linear process. We have our ups and downs, and that's when you
Mm,
have to learn the coping skills, get your sleep, exercise, eat right, like all of these other components. It's a full-time job living with mental illness, and you have to put the work into it.
gotcha. And so how are you with dealing with things that trigger you? Because I know that's a thing that a lot of people have issues with is the things that make them, really just, go there. So how are you dealing when it comes to those being that you are in recovery?
Yeah, when I was in my 20s, I was an angry person. I thought I could use my mental health as an excuse to treat people any way I wanted to treat them or project my bad feelings as anger onto other people. But what I had to learn is nobody wants to help you if you're going to be nasty about it. So
Mm,
I had to learn kindness. And one way I deal with triggers today is I journal or talk to my husband or exercise or find a healthy outlet for those pent up emotions that I'm feeling when I'm triggered so that I'm not either lashing out at somebody or crumbling to pieces. I tell people to build a toolbox of skills, things you can rely on in those moments that you are triggered so that you don't act in a way that you may regret later on.
mm. Yeah, because I noticed that that is the one of the hardest things for people who are on or off medicine is to be able to deal with their triggers in life. And I think that's a misconception too with people who are diagnosed with certain mental illnesses versus people who are not medically diagnosed, right? Is that everybody has what they consider a breaking point. And a lot of times it doesn't take much for certain people to get there. And that's what I call triggers, right? Sometimes just words and because we was talking about trauma earlier, a lot of people are not technically over childhood trauma. You
Yes.
know, um, a lot of things happen to us as adults, but it's something about the things that people have to deal with from things that they had to deal with at such a young age. Being able to suppress those reoccurring things that may have really damaged you physically, or things that you just had to go through as a kid. So let me ask you this: on your road to understanding that you had to add these extra layers to your recovery, so to speak, on top of the medicine that they were giving you. Because this is the thing, a lot of people say if you say that you are this, then you're not really that. Because people who are really that don't know that they're that. So, in other words, if a person says that, yeah, I'm crazy, so to speak, or I'm different. I'm this, that, and the third, and it's like, well, damn, if you really are that, then that would be normal for you. You wouldn't have to tell nobody that that's who you are. So, what I'm saying when it comes to you, and when been dealing with all the things that you had to deal with mentally, uh, how are you when it comes to the advocacy of medicine now? Then, since you had to overcome almost medicine trauma as well too. I mean, just based on what people were giving you. So how are you when it
I
comes to helping your people when it comes to that?
Well, for myself, I research the hell out of medications, and if I don't like what it's doing to myself, I'm quick, fast, and in a hurry going to tell my doctor that. And if they push me to a level that I don't want to do, I'll find a new doctor because this is my life and my body. I get one chance, and I'm going to advocate for myself. And that's what I tell the people in my support groups and my clients the same thing. Self-advocacy is so important. Yes, they're doctors. Yes, they have a degree. Yes, I respect that, but we know ourselves too. And it is nothing wrong with saying, I feel and I don't like this, or I would like to try something else, doing it respectfully. There's a difference, but, speak up for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm. Yeah, and I think so many people have somebody else speaking for them though.
Yeah,
In
that's
in
a,
in
that's,
your case, in the case of where you would mentally be, because like, you ran down, it was three major uh mental disabilities that you were dealing with. So in most aspects, for a person, they will have someone else kind of in control of a lot of those different things. How are you? Because I want to ask you about the support system, because I feel like that's important too. Because you got to have somebody who's willing to deal with the times that you're down, right? So,
right.
but before that, let's talk about this though. You and that particular portion. How are you able to process those thoughts when it come down to, all right, I'm about to have a episode, right? To know what to go to so it doesn't fully show itself.
I have symptoms all the time.
Ah.
I'm just really good at masking them. So like when I'm in the privacy of my own
Mm.
home, me and my husband can talk about these things, but when I'm in public, when I'm doing business, when I'm at school, when I'm working, I know, and this is common for people with mental illness, we know how to wear that mask in public. So you may see us and say, there's nothing really wrong with you. You're just saying that, whatever, whatever. But when we go home and what we're dealing with on the inside is pretty freaking scary. So, just if someone's brave enough to tell you they live with something like this, please don't judge them or second guess them. You know, there are people out there who like to self-diagnose, and I don't appreciate that either. But if someone truly has a diagnosis like this, meet them with a little bit of kindness. It takes a lot to say something like that. It took me 35 years to be able to tell people. Um, but when I do have symptoms, it's like my mind is frozen. Um, when I'm in public, it's like living in two worlds. So there's the world going on around me where people are talking to me and interacting with me, but then there's the world going on in my head. Maybe I'm having a voice, maybe I'm paranoid, maybe I'm having a delusion, maybe my mind is racing, and it takes a lot of time to learn how to master living in both of those worlds at the same time. It can be done. I know plenty of people like me who do it, and people don't know, but it's so very draining. So when I go home, sometimes I don't have a whole lot left to give because I've been pushing and pushing and pushing every day to not let the world know the symptoms I'm feeling. So when I go home, I kind of just crumble. I'm not saying that it's like that all the time, but wearing that mask in public can be very draining.
Well, listening to you, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. I guess in your case, right? Because you were diagnosed with these things, I can see how having to wear a mask all day could be really strenuous, right? Because you don't want people to judge you because of the
Right.
things that you know that you deal with, right? Because it will be judged with those harsh words that most people don't want to be considered because to them they can't help the way that they act. But then there are those, which I'm glad you said that you don't like people who self-diagnose because that's important too. But just listening to you, that seems to be common in a lot of people just based off of the trauma that they've dealt with in life, that hadn't had the opportunity to even be diagnosed with something, given medicine or not medicine or whatever, because everything you just said is a part of what a lot of people have to do each and every day. They have to really, really hide behind a facade that's not them. And it doesn't it's a thing where a lot of people feel isolated in their own situation. Like maybe you, for example, I don't know, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm saying there's probably at times where you were going through things and you felt like you were the only one that were feeling these things and going through it, and everybody hates you, and you can't love yourself and nobody feels this way. There's that time. But then there's those of you guys who I wish I could almost do like my man did in the Ghost of Christmas Past. Just come get y'all every now and then just zap y'all into other people's stuff and let y'all see them at the same time so you can understand that you're not the only one, and that irregardless of what it may look like, whether you're diagnosed with something or you're not, the effects of the way people have to deal with trauma is all the same. It's just that maybe a person that has medicine has a little bit more help in coping versus a person who has not been diagnosed in any kind of way, who don't have those mechanisms. They have the regular, which would be street drugs. And we're not talking about marijuana because we understand that for those people who cope with marijuana, they can cope with life. It's just the other things that they go into. And then alcohol. Those are people's coping mechanisms that help them make
When
or
I
not deal with things.
When I say self-diagnosed, I don't mean people with actual trauma and actual complications. I mean people who are very neat and say, I'm so OCD, or I'm so moody and say, oh, I'm so bipolar.
Ye
That's what I'm talking
yeah,
about, because there are
yeah,
definitely people out there with trauma and mental concerns who don't have the resources to get the help, don't know how to get the help, are just
right,
struggling. And like you said, dealing with drugs and alcohol to mask it. I did that myself too when I was young. It is a problem. But when I say
right,
self-diagnosing, I mean when you're making mental health a pop culture word and it's cool to have these things because it's not.
right. Yeah, you're right. Yes, that is a thing, and a lot of people have been using bad behavior as a means to hide behind saying they have some type of thing going on mentally when they really just don't want to be accountable for their own actions, and they want people to only feel for them as if they're not to feel for people. And that's why I think that what you said was important too, about your road to recovery and helping other people and not just having to just focus on yourself. You found purpose in being able to help people, which has helped you help yourself. And I think a lot of people don't realize just how much helping others helps them too. Is because we all been put in this, we in this rat race each and every day where people can only focus on themselves. So your nonprofit organization is geared towards helping other people like yourself, right? So before we talk about your nonprofit, let's talk about your support system for a second. Because again, people who deal with the situations that you deal with, 9 times out of 10 have other people trying to, well, not trying, running their day to day, making sure that they always under some type of making sure that they always, because it helps them. How, because I know you mentioned your husband a few times. Did your husband meet you at a time before you really got the help you needed, or was it after you really got through? Well, no, because you said that you were really sick and he was there. So when did you meet your husband during this phase of your learning your disability or your mental health?
I've had my mental health symptoms since I was 14, and I met him 11 years ago. So
My
I
God.
have
Yeah.
had it most of my life. I've learned to deal with it. And when I met him, I actually hid it from him at first. But he found out, and he's had the ability to love me through it. You know, when I was so suicidal, in my 20s, he was the one helping me through it. He loved me when I couldn't love myself. And the day I wrote the note and the day I made the plan, I heard him, and I thought about what that would do to him because that's how my mom died, and I knew what that did to me, and he is the reason I am alive today. And while I am very independent, and I mean, I run a business, go to school, and work a job, you know, he is my eyes and ears at the end of the day when we're at home. He can see things I can't always see in myself, and if I'm not wanting to take my medicine or something, he's that constant reminder. If I'm not feeling well, he's my sounding board. You know, support systems are really, really, really important part of it for people like me. And not everybody's fortunate enough to have one like I do. So I'm very fortunate to have my husband because without him, I wouldn't be doing anything I do today.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it was very important that we talked about that because support in so many different ways is really important nowadays because there's so many people that go through things by themselves and in the moments that they feel like they want to end things, they normally do because there is no one to talk them off the ledge, so to speak, right? And the
Right.
fact that you said that you that's how you lost your mom. So you lost your mom to suicide?
I did in 2019. This month will be 7 years. Um, she did die that way, and it was difficult and traumatic and really messed me up for a really long time because
Mm.
I felt all this pressure to not allow myself to feel sad or angry. Like I was forcing myself to be like okay because it was her choice, which is a fucked up thing to say. Like I'm not okay. She
Right.
died. So it really took me 6 years. It wasn't until the anniversary last year that I was like, okay, I'm really messed up about this. I'm really angry at you for doing what you did, and I'm really sad that you're gone because my mom was a huge part of my support network. And while I miss her, you know, there's always reach out to somebody if you are feeling this way because you are meant to be here. You are here for a reason and you matter to somebody. And if you haven't heard it today, you matter to me.
Right.
988 is a great resource. You can text or call them anytime and they will talk to you if you have nobody else. Just you matter, guys.
Right, right, right. And yeah, man, that's important because see, Dan, that's part of trauma too, as well, right? You know, recognizing the things that we go through generationally, right? Most people call them generational curses, right? Because these things pass down through us unknowingly. And we don't know it because that's not things that we're trained to look for anymore. Because, unfortunately our parents from our generation when they had us, their mindset wasn't on the future for us, you know and because of that we've had to go grow up in just a whole bunch of different circumstances that we probably wouldn't have if we had parents who was willing to be free thinkers versus being those that just wanted to go along with something because it was given to them. And I said all that to say, you know, in this whole fight for independence, for everyone that wants to feel independent, it's still the main necessity for support. Like it doesn't really matter. Like you can be the most independent person in the world. You could do so many things. You could be the ultimate multitasker. But there's nothing like community. It's nothing like the village. It's nothing like real support, and not support based on what you're giving people, but support based on what everybody can give each other in order to move forward. And like you said, dealing with your husband, because most people in your position, they hide it, right? Even when they're not diagnosed, they hide their trauma. People send their representatives in the beginning of all relationships. They don't send the real them. You don't find out the real them until something happens, and then when that thing happens, you find out that this ain't the person you thought they were. And you could have been around them for I don't care how many you could have been around them mad long. And all it takes is for one type of scenario to come up, and then you be like, yo, I don't even know this person. And so these things, they affect us all in so many different ways. But a support system and things that are going on in life is one of the most important things that we all, should be focused on moving forward, because the people that are in charge are working together against us while we're working separately.
But that's like no mental illness or no mental illness. Communities is the core
Exactly.
of so much. I could be a perfectly normal person and still need a community. We can't go through this life alone. We need people to build us up. We need support. We need help. I think that's a natural human thing.
Facts. Facts. Most people they don't think that way, right? Because they're taught independence. Like, you got to remember, people are taught to only focus on themselves, and then for those that go through certain things, they have a problem with trust. And I understood that to be, no, anytime a person tells me that they have trust issues, it means that they can't be trusted off top. And I know people think that they really saying something when they walk around here talking about, yo, I don't trust people. I don't trust nobody. I ain't this. You really just advocating that you are not to be trusted, because you're going to do things based on what you think somebody else is not doing. And so that just alone lets us know that you can't be trusted. So it power in words, right? It's power in words, irregardless of what we may think. But what you say, it does matter, So you like, very important that we all have a support system. Very important that we have a village. We can't keep running around here saying that we don't need people. Words are important, and that goes for male and female alike, separate, together, however that go. We can't continue to walk around here saying that we don't need nobody, you know?
Words hold a lot of power. The things we say and the image we project, you know, that's it has a lot of weight to it. But I think what matters most is the way we treat people. It's we can talk about, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But the way you treat other people and the way you treat your support system, the people who are there for you,
Mm,
is so important, because sometimes we take advantage of these people, or we don't feel grateful for these people when they're giving the shirt off their back for us, or taking time out of their day for us. So I probably wasn't very grateful for my support system back in the day. And I live with a lot of guilt about that, because they were really there for me when I couldn't be there for myself. So I try to have a lot of gratitude for my husband and be very thankful for him and let him know I am, because I would not be here today without him. But we have a partnership, so we give each other that gratitude and each other that love.
which is great, because everybody needs it, right? As much as we, like I said earlier, as much as people want to be independent and feel like they could do everything on their own, we need that support system. And sometimes that one person that we do have is just, sometimes it's as close to having none either, because they get worn out too, because then they need support. And then what happens
Yes.
if they spending all their time supporting us? Who's supporting them? And then you got people who are selfish in that regard, right? They know that they're in need and they're draining their partner, but then they don't want their partner to be replenished, knowing that they can't, So there's a lot going on in those situations. So I'm thankful. I don't know your husband, but I'm thankful that you have a person that you have like that, because of everything that you're dealing with, because there's so many people out here who are alone in their mental illness, right?
I think
They
this
can't come up
I
on
think
podcasts.
I think the support systems get lost. We are so quick to praise the people with the struggles and praise the people with the mental illness when they enter recovery like me, but what about the people who got us there? So I do a lot of talking about how important it is to support them as well. When I was dying at home and my husband was taking care of me, it was just he and I. He didn't have support. People were reaching out for me, but he had just as much trauma watching his wife go through this as I did.
And people would just focus on mainly you. And that's one of the things about
Right.
being a man, and that goes for a lot of things when it comes down to being a man. Even when it comes down to, a baby being born. When a baby being born, everybody calls and they checks on the woman the whole time, but not knowing that, for the first 30 days or so, a woman depending on how she has the child, especially if she has like a C-section or so, she don't even get to change the kid diaper, carry the kid, don't do nothing. It's the dad that go through the most of the drama, the cluster feeding and all the getting up and the changing the diapers and all that. It'd be the dad going through the most drama or the most of the struggle if there's one present. Um, when that happens, but the whole time people only focus on what's going on with the woman. They don't focus on the man. Man get 1 hour sleep, maybe two a day, and people will not do it. I witnessed that myself. I went through that myself, with my kid, and it was like a couple of months that I had to be the main focus for my child while his mom was in recovery, and people really they only checked up on her, and they had no idea of how things were being moved around by one person, right? Because even the person in recovery needs help, not just the kid, right? So
Right.
it's a thing, and because when you're a man, mentally you're expected and physically to already be in a certain level of strength. But most people don't understand that that level of strength come from mental maturity, not physical. It's mental maturity. You got to be a man that has the mental fortitude to understand responsibility and not be selfish. Put ego aside and pride. That takes a lot for a person who is supposed to be, when they think about traditional roles, right? They don't think about the man being that for the baby. They think about the woman being that. I had a lady ask me that one time before too. She was seeing me at different events, and I'd be the one with my kid, and she would ask me all the time. She was like, "Yo, why are you always with the kid? Why he's not with his mom? Like, why are you always with him? Because his mom would be there, but he would be with me." And she asked me that because she said that to her, that's unusual. And I thought, like, damn, I wonder why that seems unusual that people would see that, because they wouldn't expect it, because they expect when it comes to certain things, it's the woman, So I get that, So big ups to your husband, double salute to him, kudos to him, give him as many props, give him his flowers, let him know that, that's fly, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, let him know that, that people are, rooting for him for the fact that he stuck behind you and was able to help push you through a place where he probably didn't understand himself while still not getting the credit for it. So, yeah, double
Right.
salute to him. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Beth. So listen, let's do this. So before we get out of here, let's tell everybody how they can get in contact with you for your nonprofit organization and exactly what your nonprofit organization could do for them.
Right. So my nonprofit organization is a mental health based nonprofit. We offer advocacy work, social work style advocacy. We plan community events to aid in ending the stigma. We've got some coming up in my area for World Mental Health Awareness Week in October of this year. It's a mental health simulation to give a day in the life of what it's like to live with different mental health needs and the things they have to go through. We also offer 100% free support groups. Some are in person, some are virtual. Um, and anybody's welcome to join. We do fun activities, we work on healing. These are all run by certified peer support specialists. And then we do public speaking, myself and some other people with the organization to educate the public on mental health. And my email address is on my website. It is www.jesupport.org. Even if you just need a listening ear, we're here to listen.
Okay, great, great, great. So listen, for all of y'all that watch tonight, thank y'all so much for jumping on. For all of y'all that are listening, if you yourself are dealing with mental issues, or if you know someone that is, or if you're just someone that needs someone to listen to you that will not pass judgment because they themselves have already had to overcome their own obstacles, then y'all know what to do. Make sure y'all hit Maddie up and J and E support group. Make sure y'all let them know that you heard them, you checked her out on Sparking Conversation, so that way you can let them know that you got value out of the conversation, and you also are a person that's looking to help and at least help yourself if you're not looking for someone else. All right, so y'all make sure y'all hit Maddie up. She is on Facebook under Maddie Andrews. So listen, look her up. If you guys don't remember J&E support group or however that goes, just make sure that you guys look her up and find your place in your recovery, because we want everyone to be recovered. Even those of you that don't even know that you're dealing with something. You just know that life has been kicking your ass and you've been doing the best you can to fight back. Sometimes you just need a coach in your corner to tell you when to bob and weave every now and then. Right? That's all you need. And so Maddie is here to be that coach in your corner to tell you when to bob and weave and to tell you when to throw that big, powerful right hook, right? Because you're going to have to be the person that's going to fight back. You got to fight back no matter what's going on in your life. I understand you will get prescribed medicine. You may get, advocacy groups. You may get all that. But ultimately, out of everything that you're given, is just a tool for you to use to fight back. You're going to have to fight back. No matter what you're given, it's not going to do it for you, and you're going to have to fight back, right? So we want to make sure that everybody understand that out there. It's up to you. So, y'all know the vibes, man. Each and every week, we're back, right? New season, season 4, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We here, and I'm talking to some of the world's most interesting people, and I need y'all to show up and make sure that y'all keep the energy high. So until next week, y'all know what to do. Stay fly out there, and remember, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. So until next week, y'all, peace.